Alright, we have got Mr. 378, otherwise known as the Iron Man of Ubers, against Donkey, here seen as On Decky. So, Kyogre lead, Kyogre lead. So, this is another reason why I like specs on Kyogre lead. Yes, move flexibility is great and whatnot, but the power of Thunder, I mean, it's nice for Tentacruel, but, smacking other Kyogre real hard is also real nice. So, they trade Thunders, 378 goes first. Not specs damage from either of them. And 378 does a little less, but goes first, so he could be timid as opposed to the standard of modest. Not a bad choice. There's a para from Donkey, but 378 has Lum. And are they going to risk it? They are. And 378 wins he either wins the tie or he's just timid, and Donkey's is he's either won both ties or he's just faster because maybe he's timid. Or maybe he just runs more speed EVs on his Modest variant, because a lot of the Modest Kyogre leads run a lot of bulk because they don't feel the need to run max speed. Either or. But the damage discrepancy makes me lean towards timid just to, instinctively a bit more. I'm kind of surprised that Donkey chose to risk that tie. I think I would have expected like a switch to Dialga or Groudon or something. But I guess he wants, if his follow-up would be Palkia, then he doesn't want to subject that to a Thunder. And now here comes Palk, which is tough to switch into, and it ties up the game with Spatial Rend. So, of course, it's a tie, but 378 has the momentum because he is able to choose how he responds to the Palkia, and he does so with Dialga. So, Rock's coming up. He Dragon Pulses. Again, we've been seeing a lot of that. Dragon Pulse looking for to snag the cheap shot on the rocks, and he didn't want to give into a potential... He didn't want to get caught off guard by a potential aggressive play from Donkey. And now I'm thinking that just might not be a Rocks Dialga, because he does not even go for that on the second turn. I don't think it's Specs. I think Specs would have done more on a crit. But my head calc's been pretty bad lately. So I'm just going to double check it. Yeah, okay, I think Dragon Pulse crit was, okay, yes, definitely. But it still did a pretty good chunk. It did 47, so that still feels boosted. What is that Dragon Pulse? Is that like, oh, maybe it's Timid Specs. Yeah, that would make more sense. I can't fathom non-modest specs, but I guess... Yeah, okay, I guess he is in fact Modest Specs, because no other item could come close. I guess Life Orb probably could, but he wasn't Life Orb, so yeah, he's Timid Specs Dialga, very cool. And in comes Palkia and Rain, difficult to withstand, and Bronzong sets up Brox, and in comes Donkey's own Palkia, and 370 goes right for the Hydro. I think the water move is a little too obvious, and I don't think Donkey is too eager to give up his Dragon Absorber just yet. So I think a Dragon move on 378's end could have worked out nicely. But, this could still be Habenberry, so he might not need to fear it. Oh, and he... Okay, so Donkey's Palkia switches in and takes the spatial... outruns. So it could be Scarf, could just be a speed tie, and it KOs with spatial... Well, it gets a crit. It could maybe have not mattered because it could be a Specs Palkia. Or Lustrous, but if my, unreliable head calc is correct, then I believe that Palkia lives in opposing Palkia's Spatial Rend from full. Okay, yeah, never mind. Oh, I'm thinking of like Dragon Pulses. I keep forgetting that I'm dealing with a whole level. Okay, theoretically, then yes, there is a small chance that it could have KO'd. 18.8% that it could have survived. And yet, but that is probably not the case. So it is likely that, well, Donkey either was the speed tie winner or he's just scarfed. So either way, Donkey 378's Palk goes down, and now he returns to his Specs Dialga, which, okay, so that is definitely, well, I'm gonna make sure that I think it's a Specs Palkia. Dialga, 0 special attack. Okay, yeah, that's got to be Specs because Lustrous did 69 and Lustrous tops out at 63 to 0 bulk. So now he goes for a Thunder and doesn't quite KO. He was aiming for the Zong, whereas Donkey didn't want. Donkey's really being protective of his Zong, which is a smart move because if 378 is packing a bunch of offense, he's got a Dragon Finisher, maybe a Mewtwo, and thus having Bronzong healthy late in the game could potentially be a real leg up for him. So Thunder, bails him out there, paralyzes, but Donkey now has a very free switch to Garchomp. So with the, that's a pretty ballsy move for Donkey to just go to his Palkia and switch and just go for it against 378's. I guess he was assuming that 378's Palkia had a strong chance of being scarfed. Yeah, because otherwise that's a really risky move to make. I mean, on one hand, I do realize that the Palkia is really difficult to switch around. I'm checking to see what Specs Spatial Rend does against Haben Palk. Yeah, okay, so that would have been. I mean, that's to just assume, because if it's not even if you win the tie against Habenberry, you're not coming out on top there. So he was really assuming that it was going to be a Scarf Palk, but maybe he could have. This turn is fascinating to me because of how much risk it entailed. But like with how much the Hydro did to the... Could he have not Rain? Yeah, okay, so he... Actually, no, he just risked the speed tie because he knew it was Lustrous or Palkia on 378's side because the Hydro did 30% to Palkia, and that is the max roll for Lustrous Palkia against other Palkia in Rain. So he knew it was Lustrous, and he just he decided to risk the tie. I mean, I guess I understand because like, what are you gonna do even if you know the Spatial Rend is coming? Just go back to Bronzong and be in this exact same position, and just because this is why Palkia is so hard to wall. I mean, the last series I did before this was I just did it. It was Tomahawk versus Malekith, and that series also showed how monstrous Palkia is, and so is this one, showing how ridiculously impossible it is to switch around the thing sometimes. So I think he risked the speed tie just not having a better option to pivot into it at that point. If you want to chalk that up to a team building thing, that's something else. But I do think that he just he had no choice but to risk the tie. And whether or not that's a good reflection on the team, that's something I think we have to see the full team first. Palkia is just naturally incredibly difficult to deal with. So, yeah, I think he just had to do that. Anyway, Chomp is in now, and Dialga is going to get forced out, and 370 has his own Bronzong. And Donkey gets a free SD. And if this is a Rain team, good chance it's going to Aqua Tail if it's SDing. And that's exactly what happens as 378 goes for a payback. Now, I don't know if that was the right... I guess maybe he's like trying to put it into range for like a Scarf Draco Meteor through Habenberry or something. I don't know. That's my assumption anyway, because otherwise I think Rocks would have been really helpful. I guess it depends on what he's revenge killing it with. But yeah, if he's revenge killing it with a Scarf Garchomp, then, well, it's not going to KO with Haben anyway. You have to crit it, and it's better to have Rocks just in case you do get that crit. So Donkey goes for EQ there. Smart, so he doesn't... Oh, I guess so he doesn't trigger Habenberry because he has Dragon Claw. He doesn't have Outrage. So, good move. And now Tino comes in with the Shadow Sneak, but it's looking like with the slowness here, then Donkey with the Specs DL with the two base 90s left, then should be okay. It shouldn't be too hard for Donkey to have one of his last two Pokemon finish them off. As he goes for Gyro Ball, he does not have Payback or Toxic or anything on this one. So the Giratina O is actually going to muscle its way through this Bronzong. I mean, not without sustaining heavy damage. It's going to, get brought down to half by the second gyro. But the third Thunder is going to take it out. Palkia's out of commission. Here comes Scizor, which is not exactly the biggest Giratina killer in the world. And if this thing had Will-O-Wisp, then this would get really, really hairy. But it's not quite the case. So barring Thunder para full paras or crits. Well, there's the para, but no full para. And so now the last Pokemon has to be slower and and be OHKO'd by, or at least vulnerable to a crit from Timid Specs Dialga's Dragon Pulse, which is not too likely, considering we have not seen a Scarfer yet on Donkey's team, or a Swift Swimmer or anything like that. And this is neither of those. I don't think he necessarily needs those things because of the dual... I do like the dual steel. They kind of remove the need for Scarfer by giving you more defensive play against the dragon moves you would otherwise constantly be trying to outspeed with a Scarfer or a faster Pokemon or a Swift Swimmer. So I do like that. And that allows for more flexibility, or that allows for a more aggressive offensive approach because you have Latios as opposed to something choiced and unboosted. Scarfed, unboosted, all that. So he is just able to finish the Dialga off with Latios. So nice stuff. Bronzong offense on both sides. I can dig it. So cool stuff. And now we move on to game 2. DOS. Oh, who knows what they're going to pull out of their bag of tricks. And there's a trick from 378 on the taunt from Donkey. And there is... Well, that's... I guess that's why a lot of players prefer to spike. Because now both of them have to switch, at the very least. I guess Donkey could theoretically taunt just to make sure that the Dialga or Groudon switching in can't use rocks. But then 378 just goes back to Deoxys. And he does this back and forth, and eventually he's going to land on a hazard setter that Deoxys... And, Deoxys can't taunt forever. So... Yeah, both players are probably going to switch here. And so at least... So Donkey didn't get any hazards of his yet, but he also didn't get any... But 378 didn't either. But then again, Donkey's Deoxys is choice now, and since it didn't trick itself, it's probably not going to be Scarf Set itself, so not going to be getting rid of it. So Iron Man of Ubers, 378, goes to Kyogre, which is an unusual thing to go to in that situation, because most players are going to go to Dialga to get up rocks, and most of the time you'd want to go to your own rocker in that situation, because Kyogre doesn't really have a good matchup against the two most common rockers, Dialga and Groudon, especially because Deoxys S is Donkey's now Scarf Deoxys is switching first, so Groudon would actually no Groudon. I guess if he was expecting Kyogre. Or if he was expecting Groudon, then Kyogre would get up the rain. I was wrong on that. So he would chase the Groudon out. But he would not. But Dialga is also super common. So I don't know. I think it was a safer bet to just go to the rocker. Anyway, so yeah, like his own Dialga. So now Donkey gets a Thunder off. Again, all over the place. Players in this tournament are expecting to be attacked with their rocking Dialgas as they rock. And the other players are not actually taking the bait. So most of the time, anyway, with one or two exceptions. Anyway, so Donkey gets up rocks. He gets the para, and then 378 full paras as Donkey gets rocks. So that's pretty unfortunate. And now 378 goes for... gets his rocks, and now Donkey is spiking all over the place. I don't know why 378 isn't going to... I mean, he's getting full para'd, which is awful. But I also don't know why he wasn't going to Deoxys to match the hazards. Wait. Okay, sorry. I missed something big on the first turn. Whoa. Okay, this changes kind of the whole thing. Both players are running Trick Scarf Deoxys. I did not notice that 378 got the... Even when I watched this live, that somehow escaped me. Just because I think I was thrown off, because most of the time when you have a Trick Scarf Deoxys lead, the whole point is to trick other Deoxys. It's not to get a fast taunt off. But I guess that's what Donkey wanted to do. He wanted to use the Scarf Deoxys to guarantee he got the taunt off on other Deoxys, and then he would be able to swing it around, or get off to a good rocks advantage as both of them switched out. And then he could come back and trick later and, already have rocks and get up a lot of spikes. And So that's an interesting approach. I really like that. See, a lot of times in these videos I talk about, innovations not just in teams or and sets and all, but also playing. That is an example. Leading off with a Trick Scarf Dialga and taunting the Trick Scarf Deoxys and taunting the opposing Deoxys. That is new. That is something I really have not seen before. And so major props. So yeah, that was nice. But I still think 378 should have gone to Deoxys here and matched the spikes. Because yeah, the full pairs were unfortunate, but that Deoxys was going to get multiple layers anyway, barring some serious bad luck. And this prevents 378 from matching that. Yeah, so now he's going to be falling behind, and I mean, him dealing with 3 layers of spikes there was not exactly unexpected. So now he goes to his own Deoxys. And now he'll get, 1, maybe 2. Roar, good move. But yeah, I think he had to do that before. I mean, at least he would have had more hazards to play with. And now Dialga's, in a groove. We've been seeing a lot of Roar Dialgas in this tournament, and it kind of got forgotten for a little bit while people played around with Protect, and then people realized, oh yeah, Roar on this thing is stupid sometimes. So see, there's an example. There's a Protect on... Now, I mean, having Roar here would not be better. Protect is actually better than having Roar because since he's paralyzed, in this situation it's better. Because since he's paralyzed, he would be getting outsped every time. But, it's a case in point that Roar is just really going to hack his team apart. I mean, being able to drag in Kyogre and force so much damage on it is just beautiful. So, and he's not exactly threatening to hurt the Dialga big time either. So here comes Palkia, and even if this is Specs Draco, then... Which, awesome, but not quite. And even with a Spatial Rend crit. Now, imagine if that was... and it's not Habin, so it dies to the Dragon Pulse. And, yeah. So now 378 is way, way, way behind. And Donkey has the perfect Sleep Sack and his Deoxys speed. I mean, even if he lets it go down to Darkrai and, dies to Sleep Claws or something, and lets Sleep Claws be reset... then the Darkrai is so hacked apart by hazards, and he's going to have so much offensive momentum after that it almost doesn't matter. But, oh, nuts. I did not mean to do that. So let's skip back ahead to where we were. Yeah, Darkrai, and the DOS switches out, and we see Pursuit. So that's very cool, because being able to Pursuit Lottie Twins, for example, is really nice for Kyogre. So that is a really nice bit of support. But at this point, with all the hazard, with the significant hazard and Pokemon deficit, then it might be a case of too little, too late. So Dialga comes in on the assumed U-turn from Jirachi, whether Scarf or support. And just imagine if that Jirachi was U-turning with way more hazards, that it would be not nearly as eager to do so, and 378 would not be as punished for switching as disproportionately as Donkey. So. So, I mean, imagine he's dealing with full hazards here, and yes, even just 1 layer of spikes would have put Donkey's Dialga into hazard range there. So, even with Protect, you're not going to, PP stall the Protect and Pressure, then it's not quite going to be enough to get out of range. He doesn't go for the double, and down it goes. So, here comes DOS to get another layer, and... yeah, so there's a Darkrai being dragged in. That's actually better for 378 because it was a nice idea on Donkey's end to try and drag more damage onto Kyogre. I mean, I guess it's kind of like splitting hairs because he is so far ahead. But it's like, do you want more damage on Kyogre? Well, damage on Kyogre is good. So actually, never mind. I take it back. I mean, yes, this allows 378 to keep the Deoxys sack for later. But damage on Kyogre is great. And now Darkrai can't pick its spot anymore. Now you're forcing Darkrai to waste itself on finishing off Dialga, which is not nearly as valuable as if it were to sleep and maybe pursue something else like a Lottie in the back. Or something else slower like a Groudon. Just being able to sleep it and pepper it with attacks after might be big. So, yeah, that was a good move. And if you reveal the last, that's great. So that was a very heads-up play on Donkey's end, so props for that. So there's the Void, but it's not really doing anything because Darkrai is still going to... well, it has 2 Life Orb hits anyway, so it doesn't really matter because it can't switch out because of hazards anyway. So Jirachi comes back in, and if this thing has Sucker, then it does. And imagine if it had been dealing with full hazards from the beginning. That would not... He would have been forced to... I mean, I still think he's like too far ahead for it to make much of a difference, but... Here comes Tina O, and as the last, the obligatory last, I don't know why he didn't sneak. Maybe he doesn't have it. Maybe he's Calm Mind, 3 special attacks. No EQs, I don't know. I guess he was expecting it to be like a... Well, no, it's not going to be a bulky one. Never mind, I was wrong there. It's not going to be a bulky one because it didn't have leftover, so he could have just sneaked as it, was... It was either going to switch or it was locked into U-turn, so, same thing. I don't know. It was, you don't know what's coming in. It's just going to get sacked anyway, so just sneak it and have it a 3-3 at least. Anyway, here comes Lugia, which Calm Minds, but that's... Well, it's not too dicey because it only has a couple turns in which it can have bad luck against it. But, Thunder 30% accuracy is pretty nasty. But it needs a crit now, and there's the crit immediately. But yeah, I was going to say, because it's going to start hitting with super effective Ice Beam soon, so boosted super effective Ice Beam soon, like there, so it only needed a couple turns, but that crit was big. And of course, Paralysis gives it more turns in which to crit, potentially, but yeah, so Jirachi's down, but now unless this Giratina is faster and crits or full paras or the Kyogre, well, okay, not quite enough. So that's finished off, and I guess the Kyogre could theoretically go Hero Mode, because, the Jirachi is the fast poke and that's down. But no, that's not the case. So you wonder why would he sack the DOS, and then you realize, well, it doesn't matter really, but it also lets him not get phased out by a potential Roar, and that makes a lot more sense when you see that 378's Kyogre is Calm Mind, Rest Talk, Kroger. So that's pretty, they're about to enter a pretty nasty Calm Mind war for the game, and it's going to be I'm going to assume whoever crits first wins, because I can't see the last, well, who knows what the last Pokemon is. It could be like Choice Band's grass move poke of some kind that, yeah. Okay, but Donkey crits, so... yeah, that was going to be... It was... 378 was technically... Well, I guess Donkey was attacking him more from the start because bad sleep talk rolls and he got to Calm Mind and attack first. But, if they evened out, then 378 was going to be hitting first, so technically better odds, but that was going to be an uphill battle anyway. Okay, so this is an ad, and it's good timing because this video is coming to a close. So, that was an interesting series. I think some stuff could have been done differently, but interesting stuff on both sides. Thank you to both for playing, and I will see you guys in the next one.